Maseches Brachos Naf Nun. The Gemara discusses, Rava says that when they used to eat by the Reish Galusa, they used to make a zimun only with 3. So the Gemara asks, why did they do that? Why weren't they yotze with the Birchas HaZimun of the Reish Galusa? The Gemara says there's so many people they weren't able to hear. And that the Gemara asked, let them just be mezamin 10, 10, 10. Mar says no, it would make so much noise, and the Reish Galusa would be makbid. So it's interesting to note on this halacha of people can't hear. Moshe Sternberg and the Steif over here writes that nowadays with a microphone it's not a problem. People could hear with a microphone; it's not a problem. And he says that there's those that wrote like a kol koira that you shouldn't have birchas zimun on the microphone. Let's say by a chasna. He says it's not a problem because not being yotze with the birchas hamazon of the mevorich that you have to hear his actual words. Let's say like by birchas chasanim, he says over there that the Masada Kedushin has to have 10 people listening to him. But over here, just having people know what you're being mezamin, it's not a problem with a microphone. Sheva Levi also writes like that. However, they bring it down from Abel Yashiv, Dayan Fisher, they held that's a problem to have zimun of asar with a microphone. However, the Rashba over here is just because ikbid reish galusa, that's why they didn't do the chayvas zimun ba'asara. So the Rashba writes two pshatim. First, he writes that there was no other option, because if the Reish Galusa would hear a zimun of Asara, then he'll stop it. There won't be any zimun. Only be a zimun from the Reish Galusa, and that was not negeya because they weren't able to hear. The Rashba says that different teretz, even if the Reish Galusa wouldn't stop them, but since it's being pegeya in the covered the Reish Galusa, so Godel covered abriyas shadei chalesei shebetayra, and over here it's a derabanan. So therefore, the cover the Reish Galusa is deicha the chayva zimun that you have. The Machzah Shekel writes that it means that the chayva zimun ba'asara is drabanon, so therefore it's deicha. They speak out not like the Kiryat Sefer that says zimun ba'asara is vidaraisa. The Birchas Shai over here is the kasha on the Rashba. The Rashba is the Charapella. The Reish Galusa should learn the halachis that you have a chiv zimun, and everyone has to be mezamin themselves. So how can you find such a thing, a covered abrius, that he should have to learn that this is the halacha? Everyone has to mezamin themselves. The Tzarechiyat, the Magen Avraham brings from this Rashba that a kol shekain, if someone has to go the dvar mitzvah, for sure he could leave without the zimun, from the fact that Kod Rabrius is Deicha, so who din for Dvar Mitzvah. Birchas Shai writes, it's Tzarechiyat also. The L'chayra, Kod Rabrius you find is Deicha mitzvahs. Mashenkin, for a different mitzvah, Mechatesi, you could push away the mitzvah you being Isaac to do another mitzvah. When Moshe Feinstein is Tshuva, he writes a different pshat in this Gemara. He discusses a very Negeya de Shaila, famous Shaila about Hilcha Zimun. What do you do in Chasanis that you can't stay to the end of the chasana? And you learn the sugis over here. It sounds clearly there's a chayva zimun. Whenever you mitzdaref to suuda, there's a chayva zimun. So how can you leave before the end of the chasana? And there Moshe writes, there's a eitzos. You sit down in a way, al daita the hochi, not to mitzdaref with a zimun, not to have a chayva zimun, and b'chagavna it's not chalin you a chayva zimun. He brings a raya from the Ramah that says that in the bias of a goy, they're not mezamin, and the pshat is because they don't have a mind to mezamin. So it means although there's a kviyas together, since there's no das bikara to be mezamin together, so it's not chal chayva zimun. Very interesting chiddush that Moshe says that's mavur in the Ramah, and he says what's the makar of this chiddush? He says the pshat is the ma'is it's from this halacha, that since Gimel, why it's a pshat they were able to do Gimel, he says the pshat is, no, forget, they only had in mind to mezamin independently. And he Maisi brings that he found, Shlomo Kluger writes like that in Chachma Shlomo. However, the Maisi, the Daris Torah from Marsham and Eshel Avram from the Mechacha say there's no such eitzah. Since you hook for together, there's Halachah zimun, and the fact that you have a mind to go earlier doesn't help. Further on the Gemara says, there are 3 people that came from 3 different chaburas, the mezamin together, but if each of the original chaburas were mezamin on them, then it's porach zimun minayu. So on this Gemara, there's narichis and rishonim, various different pshatim. Rashi writes that they came from a zimun, and if their chabura is mezamin on them, it means they called on them and they answered. And since they answered, so it's parach luhu zimun. On that, the Rishonim ask, it's pashut. If they were mezamen with the original chabura, of course they can't come and mezamen together. On that, the Ramban and many other Rishonim write that was talking about that there was, let's say, 4 people in each chabura originally. So therefore, these people that left were never mezamen, but parach lu zimun because each of the chaburas were mezamen without them. So since they're mezamen without them, it's parach lu zimun. The Achronim write that you see from these Rishonim that the zimun is a choivas hatzibur, choivan all in together. So therefore, it's parach zimun minai. The Ramban brings a raya that says that they ate together, but not b'teres kvias. So therefore, there's a havamin that there should be a zimun. Again, kamashman, there's no zimun. The Rosh explains Shitas Rashi that the chiddush is, even though they ate again later, these 3 people, it's not Halachah zimun because the original zimun patters them. Brachos says a different pshat in Rashi. He says, according to what he said a chiddush, we spoke out on the Mem Zayin B'siyat Shmaya, that there's 2 halachas in zimun, one halacha zimun in tziruf, and one halacha in deis, that there's many people in the bracha, they're not, even though they're not mitzurif in the room together. So he says that we find that koivin loy mezamna love is only halacha in deis, but it's not mekayim the choiva zimun of tziruf. So mainly you would have a havamina that you can mitzdarif again to mekayim that din of tziruf zimun. Another pshat you could say to answer Rashi that the pshat is that zimun is halacha in hilchas birchas hamazon, that the birchas hamazon needs a zimun. So how much over here? There was 3 people came from 3 different chaburas, and that itself would be mechayiv them or birchas hamazon together, like we find in the Gemara Amud Aleph. In the Piskei Rid says they see from the Gemara Amud Aleph that even without a kviyas you can have a birchas hamazon together. So therefore, it's chala birchas hamazon together. So mela the chiv of zimun from their original chaburas are chal now in this birchas hamazon. That'll be chal now with the 3 of them together as a new chabura. Further on the Gemara brings the machlokes bayayin ad sheloi nosan mayim. You have wine that wasn't diluted. So the Chacham say you make a boy piagofin, and Belezer says you make a boy priha eitz. The Sameach asks you say this to Kakasha on the Shita of Belezer. That has to do with what we learned in the last parak. That he asked, why do you make a boy priha eitz on wine that wasn't diluted? The Gemara says before, in the beginning of the 6th parak, that if you have wheat flour, you make a shahakol niya bidvari. And the Gemara explains because islay uliach krini bepas, it could get upgraded with pas. So therefore, since it was nishtan, it changed from its original state. It was ground to flour, and it didn't come to its full state of bread. You make a shahakol niya bidvari. So effect our sameach over here also. You took wine, the wine that's not fit to drink, and it has a uli achrina to make wine that's edible with diluted, so therefore it should be a shahakol niya bidvari. And he says it's a deichik to say that when you make bread with fire, you bake it, you change the whole surah. Mashenkin over here, you just dilute it, it's not changing it so much. That says that's a deichik to say. However, Pshach and Aviezi writes it's not a deichik, he says it's a beautiful chilik, that by pas you're changing with the or. Mashenkin over here, you're not changing it, you're just diluting it. But the Ma'aser Sameach says that there's a chilik between wine that's not diluted and kemach, because kemach is the pas it's fit for menachos, so that has a chashivas. Mashenkin wine when it's not diluted, it's fit to bring on the mizbeach, so it has a chashivas, so therefore it makes a bar piates. Moshe Sternbach writes in the Sefer Pshat Ve'iyun that it's different over here, that since wine that's not diluted, it has a taste of grapes. You make a boy piates, mashenkin, but kemach doesn't have a taste of the original grain, so therefore you make a shakal niya b'dvari.